Hey everybody, Fabi Nagni here. Welcome to another episode of Laugh, Lend, and Eat the podcast. This is a very special episode because this is episode number 10, so we made it into double digits. Woohoo! And also my good friend Kevin Delory is here, and Kevin and I go back years, and this was a very fun, fast-flowing conversation with Kevin. He's an amazing individual, great leader, great lessons on leadership. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Want to thank One Good One and First Option Mortgage for all they continue doing behind the scenes for us on this podcast. Hope you guys listen to this episode and enjoy it. Have a good one. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are live on this podcast, and we have the man, the myth, the legend here today on our podcast, Kevin Delory. Kevin, say hi, buddy.
Thanks, Bobby. That was, as always, you flatter me, so I go off to a good start. Thank you.
So if anybody in the mortgage industry that listens to our podcast doesn't know who Kevin Delory is, I feel sorry for you because I think you guys may be living under a rock or something. But Kevin is Senior Vice President of Wholesale and Correspondent for Carrington Mortgage Services out of Santa Ana, California. And Kevin is nowhere near Santa Ana, California, unless he has to be there, I imagine, because if I remember right, you live in Rhode Island, don't you, Kev?
Yeah, I live in Warwick, Rhode Island. It's actually the 20th safest city in America. Remember that, Bob?
20th?
Yes. What's
that lemonade place, man? There's a popular lemonade place in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Dells.
Yeah. I did a day trip from the casino in Connecticut, right? Forgot the name of it now. It's not the Mohican, right? The Mohican? Or what?
Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, that one. And then we went to Mystic Pizza, and then we went to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
All in a day, man.
Well, the next time you're here, my brother has Kim and Steve's Summer Shack. Best seafood around in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Really? Have you lived in Rhode Island your entire life?
I was born and raised here. I moved to Massachusetts, about 45 minutes away for about 7 years. And I found myself right back here in Warwick.
So, I mean, I guess this is kind of a loaded question, and I know it's not on the list here, but what the hell? It's safe to say you're a New England Patriots fan?
Oh, absolutely, buddy. 100%.
Now, how do you feel about this whole Tom Brady moving to Tampa?
Just a bump in the road.
Just a bump in the road.
That's it.
And who's your new quarterback now? Do you guys even know his name yet?
No. Let's be honest. I tell you what, there's a few guys in here that were very smart. They went out and they got season tickets for the Bucks when they heard the rumor that Brady was going to Tom Brady. And now those tickets have doubled in prices. So, doubled the price. So how smart are those guys?
Wow. So you guys in New England bought tickets in Tampa.
Right.
Just so you can scalp them to the people in Tampa.
That's right. They can have our leftovers. Tom Brady's our leftovers.
So I just want all your accounts to hear this in Tampa, Florida. I don't know if you have any accounts down there.
maybe we'll send them to a game.
I mean, you didn't partake in that, right, Kev? So your hands are clean.
That's right. I was not involved in that at all.
All right. So any accounts down in Tampa, Florida, don't blame Kevin. He's just the messenger here, not the guy who actually did it. So Kevin, let's dig in. Let's get out of football. How are you doing in this pandemic, man? I mean, I know we've talked a few times, actually, more during the pandemic than we probably have in the last few years. But how are you doing during this pandemic?
It's tough, especially being inside every day and seeing a lot of my salespeople. So in this particular office, there's 20 plus salespeople in there. And every morning to come in and say good morning. I can see if they're not engaged and have a conversation and kind of get them engaged. So that, even the traveling, I was going the second week of every month, actually, to Anaheim. We used to be in Santa Ana, though, Fobbs.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, sorry, man.
That's all right.
Back in my day, yeah.
That's right. So, traveling there, I miss being out there and seeing the people, the energy. So I still get up every morning. I'm here usually about 6:30 in the morning because I'm excited to get here, and tackle the day. But it is different. It's, I look out now and I see, maybe 9 people out there.
Yeah.
So that I do miss the interaction with the people. I do miss the interaction with my salespeople. Believe it or not, I miss getting on that plane to fly out to the West Coast and see those guys as well. And
so you go out every other weekend, and what, do you spend the whole week?
I go out the second week of every month, and then during training, probably twice a month. And I usually will fly out Monday and take the red eye home Thursday.
Okay.
to be home with my family for the weekend.
Yeah, because you got a wife, a little girl. I remember, like, was she like 4 or 5 years old now, right?
She's
3,
getting ready to turn 4 next
4.
in a month. Next
Yeah,
month.
yeah, yeah. I remember when you first had her, man. It was a good day. I remember that.
Yes, it was
Uh,
a good day.
so I mean, at least for me, I mean, I just saw it on Facebook, so it was a good day. I don't know what it was like for you.
By the way, I did show up for work that day. She was born at 4:13 in the morning. I was in the office at 8:13.
You did not,
Yes, I did.
and your wife didn't leave you.
She was sleeping, so I was back by the time she woke up around 2.
So you duck out of the hospital. You got a brand new baby girl. She's about 4 hours old. You got your wife passed out in the hospital, and you say, "Oh, I got to go take care of some closings."
I had to come see my other 19 kids at the time that were here.
And look, dude, 4 years ago, you weren't even like the main man of wholesale correspondent, right? I mean, you were like what? I don't even know what the title you had.
Area vice president.
Yeah, so you're area vice president, but you cared that much to leave your newborn daughter and your wife in the hospital. Seriously.
Well, I don't know if it was more the fact that my wife was crying all while she was giving birth, and I think I just needed a breather to be around a little testosterone.
All right, bro. So it's about you. It's not about the 19 other kids.
That's right. That's right.
So Kevin, let's back the story up even further, man. I don't know the story. You did not, I would imagine, like most of us, like you didn't dream of becoming a mortgage guy when you were in high school.
No, my heart was set on being a history teacher, believe it or not.
Okay.
I going through college and everything, I just started questioning, do I really want to put up with these high school kids telling me where to go? And, it's nice having your summers off, but, financially, was it really, that lucrative? Was I doing it for the right reasons? And my family owned a restaurant, and I would constantly be working at the restaurant in the summer. And actually, a good friend of mine had a restaurant I worked at, and just met someone in the mortgage business. And they said, "You want to come try be a loan officer?" And,
so you came in as a loan officer to begin with, huh? I mean, you didn't come straight to wholesale.
No, I was a loan officer for 8 months. I think I did pretty well at it. I made some decent money.
Okay.
Ran into someone from Option One, and they said, "Why don't you come over here?" So that was the next step in my career, and then it was wholesale ever since.
Man, I don't get to hear Option One. I just ran into my old AE from Option One like when the pandemic first started, and we both saw each other in the grocery store with masks on.
I can't recognize anyone with a mask on, by the way.
Yeah. So he's like, and I looked at him, I was like, "Bob, is that you?" And I felt awkward saying it, you know what I mean? Because like, what if it's not Bob? So you do retail loan officer work for 8 months. So you actually took a 1003.
Yeah, absolutely. I send out documents, scheduled FedEx to pick them up back in the day,
What year was this, man?
So that would have been probably about 94.
Oh, wow. Same year I got in. Okay.
So I was sending out signing my name. That's why my signature got so bad, signing my name to all those 1003s and FedExing them out, and then going over with them, going over with the borrower 2 days later.
Do you remember all those packages we used to make for one loan application?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the FedEx was, probably about a foot thick by the time you
right. And everyone knew what like the FedEx boxes or the UPS boxes in their market, because if you missed the 4 o'clock one, you could do the 5 o'clock or the 6, or the final one was at 9:30 at the FedEx office.
Oh, I still two things I still remember. The first time that I scheduled the pickup of those signed documents to be picked up at from a borrower, let's say it was in Connecticut, and FedEx showed up and there was no package. And I remember my first rescission. I had one rescission, and it was probably my 4th loan into my retail career.
Wow.
I still remember the borrower's name. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, no. It's funny you said that, because I can still see my first rescission in my first year. And I still remember the borrower's name. And I still remember the settlement attorney who caused the rescission.
It's sad that I remember their name. I can't remember some of my cousins' last names since they've gotten married, but I can remember this borrower from 1995.
Well, it's probably the thing that I've been talking about a lot with a lot of people, Kev. I mean, you could probably identify with this, is that the feeling of failure is way more intense than the feeling of success.
100%.
Right?
It's spot on. I watched the Michael Jordan Last Dance the other day, and he has a line in there where he said, "My standards were high. I wanted everyone else to live up to my standards, and that's why I was so tough." And I always use the saying, as I always say, you get it, you have it, and if you don't have it, it's tough to understand why people are that way.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. Like when I fail or when something doesn't go my way, the feelings are just so much more intensified for me, and it's harder for me. I mean, like I'm sure you're the same way, Kev. I can't sleep sometimes. You know what I mean? My eating will change. Either I'm eating a lot or won't eat at all. But until I can resolve that within me to move forward.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. Even with a file, even when there's an issue, I want to tackle it head on and get it behind me because the
Yeah.
longer it's unresolved, the more it's in my mind and I'm thinking about it that I have that to get done. So I get it. Trust me, you get it too. I know that for our very first conversation, I knew that you had it and you get it. And that was, 7 years ago.
Yeah, I was a lot smarter back in those days. Definitely not as smart like I used to be back in those days.
And there was no
So,
gray in your beard either back in those days.
I'm kind of digging this gray beard though. I'm wearing it well. I mean, we've been fasting for Ramadan, so I just don't like to shave in the morning. And then between not eating and not drinking and then being, not leaving the house, it's just like, who cares?
Right. I'm playing it.
At this point, you know what I mean? I'm going to come out and look. Someone just said, I was on another call about an hour ago. Someone said, oh my God, it's Moses.
I can see the resemblance. There you go.
So maybe I'll get some tablets made. And finally, when this quarantine is over, I'll walk out with 2 tablets in my hands.
And you'll start doing your channel 3s on a tablet.
Right. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. So you go to Option One Mortgage. Let's get back to your career.
Yeah.
So you became a wholesale account executive for Option One, right? We're still in like 94, 95, right? And this is before the subprime really took off. This is like when there used to be called like just kind of like these really dark, high risk loans, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. When everyone talks about non-QM a few months ago, that's really how when I first got into with Option One, it was max 85 LTVs, full doc. They were banged up credit. I wasn't at Option One. I was there for a couple of years, but I tell you, it was the best training ever because they trained you in every department within Option One. So you had to learn setup, to underwriting, to account management, to closing.
Wow.
So, it was 3 years there. And, then the next chapter is New Century, which was a life changer because that was true subprime at that point in my career.
Yeah. So you go from Option One to New Century, and now so I know with me in the late 90s, I was using Conseco Financial. And I was using Household Finance, which I guess owns Option One, right? Or owned Option One.
At that time, yeah. Then they went to Fleet, which is now Bank of America, and then on to New Century.
Wow. So what was New Century like? I mean, you were at New Century, what, forever? Or what did that work out
New
as?
Century for about 4 or 5 years, I think it was. It was, New Century was different. It was nothing like we know today in the mortgage business, but I learned a lot. I worked with some great people. It's funny. The large majority of salespeople I have with me today came from with me. They've been with me since New Century.
Really? No, so are you talking 20 years?
Yeah. If you, so there's 1, 2, 3. So in this office alone, there is, between Option One and New Century, there's probably 13 people. Out of that 13, there's been 5 of us that have been together for about 20 years.
So have you always been their leader, or did you like move up to leadership?
Great. It's a great question. It's weird. I was never the leader at Option One New Century. I was the top producer, right? So everyone looked at me, would come to me and ask me, "Can I help you? How do you do it?" I took a lot of people under my wing. Didn't have the title. It wasn't until after New Century, at the end of New Century, things were getting rocky. Went over to Equifirst. And when New Century collapsed, all my buddies from New Century said, what do we do? Where do we go, Kevin? What can we do?
Wow.
And at that point, I was kind of forced into a leadership role, right? So I had to find something for these guys. So that's where I really became a leader, was when we left New Century and went to Equifirst.
So what was what caused, hold on now, New Century, okay, so did they exit before the meltdown, or they stuck around until the meltdown?
Well, they were like the first tier, whereas Equifirst was still up and running. They were still doing things. They were a more conservative company, Equifirst. They were owned by Barclays at the time. Actually, they just got sold to Barclays. At the time, they were owned by Regions Bank. So they were a little more conservative than your option ones and New Centuries. So they started to convert over to strictly FHA. Best thing that could have happened to me, because they said, listen, we're going to pay you to stay at home for the next 3 months and learn at the time it was the 4155, right?
Got it.
Want
Yeah.
you to learn it soup to nuts. And then, we rolled that until the end. And, but we learned everything about government lending.
Wow. So I kind of remember Equifax, not as much though as I remember New Century and absolutely Option One, but Equifax is kind of lost. I kind of remember the name, but not a lot of it. So all these people have been kind of like hovering around you, kind of looking for guidance and then trusting your decision.
Yeah, I mean, I had a mentor of mine that at Equifax who said, he knew that the market was coming to an end. Everything was starting to crumble behind us. He gave me advice and said, find a small regional player. Hide out there, not hide out, but find a home, small regional player for the next couple of years. And everything is secular in the mortgage industry, and everything will come back. So keep yourself relevant. And we found a small regional player where the 5 of us went together. We, hung out there for 4 years until one day, Carrington came calling.
Yes. And now what year was that?
So that was 2013.
So hold on. I got to Carrington before you got there?
You sure? Yes, you were. You were here before me.
I didn't realize that. I thought you were I thought like you were at Carrington's formation, at the birth of Carrington.
No. I didn't come out.
Because to me, you're like Mr. Carrington. You know what I mean? You've been there forever.
Now we came. We didn't make a name for ourselves. It took us a few months for everyone to get to know us. But it was actually this month is our 7-year anniversary.
Really? Congratulations, man. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. So what drew you to a company like Carrington? Let's dive into this.
When we met with them, they were real. We sat around a table. They were real. They were they didn't sugarcoat anything. They were it's going to be tough. I think that's the key. Anytime you start a new company, my best advice to anyone is don't talk to anyone for the first 90 days because you're not going to be a pleasant person. Any new company is a challenge. You have to get up and running. It was funny. We first came here. We said, we'll find the cheapest office space for you because you don't know us. We don't know you. We'll earn it. And we were in this office space that used to be it was like a bar at one point, and then it was something else after that. So you can just imagine what this place looked like.
I think it has a habit of that. They put me above a hair weave place.
So we're kind of in the same thing together, right? So we earned our stripes.
I remember some of my loan officers would come in and say, "Bob, did you see that bunch of hair below the stairs?" I was like, "No, man, I was here way too early. There was no light when I came in."
But we earned it, Bob, right? We came in. We're very. I think we're a lot alike, and that's why we say, look, give me just the bare minimum, and then you see what I'm worth. I don't want to tell you what I'm worth. You tell me afterwards what I'm worth. But we got to track to them because they were real. They said, look, we're gonna use FHA what it's for. We're gonna be straightforward with you. We're gonna grow with you. They didn't overpromise and underdeliver. And a lot of companies at that time were saying, we're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you this. And all we wanted was a chance, a phone, computer system, and someone to be straight up and honest with us. And at that time they were. And the cool thing was we were going to build the operations along with them. So they had no operations on the East Coast. They said, you can build it alongside us. And it was a marriage, a perfect marriage for us.
And I remember also so people, I think a lot of us should go back to understand that between 2008 and 2013, I mean, the broker community was almost like non-existent.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you were walking into offices that used to have like 10, 15 loan officers and there were just empty desks and computers now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It was, back then it was really get out there in front of as many brokers as you can because most shops, to your point, were either closed down or 1 or 2 people. So you had to have 30 brokers in order to do enough business as a wholesale account executive. Today that's changed. The brokers are back and now maybe, you could survive with 12 good ones.
Right.
So that was a challenge. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see a big difference between, let's say pre-2008? So I think the like a lot of for me, the golden age of the brokers may be happening now. I don't know. I'm guessing it could be, but it seemed like the mid 90s to about 2004, 2005, the brokers were really thriving and growing amazingly.
Oh, absolutely. They had so many different resources. Think about it. They wanted to take a loan conventional, they could. If they wanted to go FHA, they could. If they wanted to go subprime and option one didn't want to do it, I'll restructure it and send it to New Century. I'll take it
Right.
to accredited. There was so many options, so you could run. Let's be honest. Also, you could make a lot more on a transaction.
I mean, because when I opened up my shop, I mean, we opened up as a broker shop just because of the net worth requirement, right?
Right.
So basically, I mean, I got a couple of my buddies to sign off as wholesale companies, and I think it was InterFirst, Option One,
Yeah.
and I really can't think. There's Aegis, I think, was in there. Something, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we just started burning the midnight oil, man, and going for it as a broker shop.
Yeah, those were back in the good old days when you could make more than the realtor. Now the realtor makes more than everyone. Hope you have
I
no
mean,
realtors on this. Sorry, Bob.
well, sometimes you do. You know, I mean, look, I don't think we're telling anything new to the realtors.
Right.
I still think overall, the mortgage guys still somehow make more money than the realtors when you actually start doing all the splits. But who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe more in parity today than it was before. But so, do you think the current brokers shop is different? I mean, how do you see it? Because you're on the cutting edge on the wholesale side, right? So you see it way more than I will. So walk me through this. I mean, the old days, I remember broker shops could be like 8, 10, 15 guys, right?
Absolutely.
Guy could have multiple offices, you know what I mean, and still remain as a broker shop. Is that feasible today?
Yeah, for a few players it is. I think the biggest difference is today they are more educated than they've ever been, and they're able to. Their pull through is probably a lot better today than it was, 10 years ago. But
Okay.
most brokers I run into are the most educated people when it comes to mortgages. They're just as sharp as I'll put them up against anyone else in the business, because they have to, right? They're not seeing. Back 10 years ago, they were seeing 30, 40 loans a month. Now they're seeing 10 or 12 if they're lucky. So they got to
Right.
know that every one of them, they got to cherish that borrower, make sure they get through, and make sure they know what they're putting their borrowers into. So not to mention the repeat business.
But is it also, I mean, today, is there more like one-man broker shops? I mean, in the old days, it didn't used to be as many, but it seems like there is more today.
I would tell you that it's actually changing. Yeah, I would say that what I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years is brokers taking on more and more. Where it's maybe the number used to be 10 years 5 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 in an office. Now you're seeing 6 to 10.
Really? So we're getting back to those numbers again. Okay.
Yeah, I hope it keeps growing. I think it's a great model. I think I talk about it all the time. The difference is if they go in house and they say no, they might have 6 other avenues to take that loan to, where other people might only have one.
Why is there like this? I mean, and look, I started my career as a broker. I have nothing against brokers, but why is it that even when I was a broker, there's always like this negative feeling towards being a mortgage broker? Like, I don't know how many times a realtor would say to me, "Are you a broker or a lender?" Right? In my mind, I was like, "Who cares?" Right? I'm going to get the loan done.
I think they're nervous because they don't think they can make the decision, right? So as a lender, you're making the decision in-house. You can walk over to your underwriter processor. As a broker, they're sending that loan out and they're counting on a third party. To me, actually, the minute I see, if I was a broker, I see, I'm having an issue with, wholesaler A, I can pull it over to wholesaler B and get the loan done. So I think there's something to that where they get nervous. And they say, well, the lender's lending their own money. Broker, it's not your money. You're actually going out to somebody else to say yes or no. The lender is actually saying yes or no.
Well, for any realtor listening, I mean, honestly, I mean, unless you're a bank, you're not even lending your own money, right? Let's be honest, Kev, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you guys service, I mean, you guys are, there is that servicing lender that's evolved in the past 10, 15 years, more so now than it was before. But unless you're a servicing lender that's going to service that loan, most quote unquote lenders really aren't the end lender of the product. They're just, in my words, more like a super broker that's underwriting on behalf of another lender.
Spot on, 100%. So to your point, I don't understand why. I don't know what the fear is or why they do separate. Some of the realtors say, well, I'm going to take it to a lender versus a broker. I think the broker, no disrespect, I think sometimes a little more nimble. unfortunately, sometimes they double submit, which is not a
Yeah.
good thing for us as wholesale lenders. But
Now, I have gone on record before, and I'll do it again. And you do a lot of. I see you on Facebook, right? And I see you on LinkedIn, and you're always at these conventions, man, right? How many conventions do you do a year?
well, this year it's tough, right? So last
Well, let's
year,
talk about 2019. Where this year's a pass.
I try to do one a month. I'm not as aggressive as some others at it. I try to go to the ones where I can see the most amount of brokers, where there's going to be, if there's 3 shows in New Jersey, I try to pick one. I try to pick the tri-state so I can see Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey all at once.
So here's what I was about to say. There's this last 2 years or so, there's been this kind of like this underlying hashtag brokers are better kind of movement, right? I don't understand it, right? I don't think it's necessary, but where's your take on this? I was talking to somebody else on this show about the same topic, you know what I mean? Laura Brandeo from AFR, the president of it. And I mean, you're kind of like getting your livelihood from the brokers. How do you feel with this hashtag brokers are better kind of campaign?
No, I don't see. Do I like brokers? Of course, I'd be crazy to say I don't. But I think it's loan officers are better, right? I think it's all in the quality of the loan officer, right? I'm going to tell you, there's loan officers that are subpar at Bank of America. There's loan officers that are subpar at broker offices. It's all about just being educated and making sure you select what's best for you, whoever you feel comfortable with.
But is it necessary to make like bank loan officers or lending loan officers feel bad or make them think that brokers are I don't know, like some guys come up to me and say, well, is a broker role? And I say, I don't know, man. You got to go try it out for yourself, right? Try it out. If you like it, do it. If you don't, you go come back.
I think it's a great marketing. I'll tell you that, right? I mean, brokers are better. They could tell you, just like I said, they could send your loan to.
Wouldn't hashtag better together be better?
Something. Let's start that. I like that.
I mean, better together, man. I mean, I think it's just all of us together in this thing. I mean, I never looked at, when I was a broker, I never looked at a bank loan officer. I mean, the way I looked at bank loan officers back in the days, I just figured they made less money because they had to sell cheap rates or something, you know what I mean? And they were okay with that.
I am going to embrace better together. I tell you that, especially right now with everything that's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Sometimes people call me and say, do you see this one? They're in trouble. Or this one is doing this. And that's the last thing I want to see. I don't want to see anyone in trouble. I want to see our industry healthy and strong, whether it be someone that's my competitor or someone that's only doing conventional loans, above 680. I don't want to see anyone change.
I think it's great when companies are doing good. I mean, even if I'm not at that company, I applaud them. I want to learn from them because it's like, if I don't have to reinvent a wheel and I can just copy their wheel, I'm like, thank you. I mean, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I think, listen, I sleep a lot better at night when everybody's strong and everyone's together and everyone's operating and everyone's able to do every product. I think I'm going to get you a shirt made better together. I'm writing that down right now. Coming your way.
I like that, man. Hashtag better together, man. We're gonna start this campaign, you and I.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get back to Carrington because there's something very unique about Carrington in the past 90 to 120 days that was not lost on me, and I think a lot of people, you're probably feeling the repercussions of that, but is that you guys in the past 3 to 4 months have not left the market or raised your credit scores like a lot of lenders did.
Absolutely. I mean, we're very fortunate. We got a leadership team that's been through the last, 7 financial crises. So they get it, right? They have it. And, it's been a challenge. That was something that we talked about. And they said, no, let's stay true to who we are. My boss came to me and said, I want to be firmly placed here to help these brokers with all these loans that everyone else was doing, maybe competing with us before and have left. So the leadership team here stuck together and we said, let's stay true to who we are. And that's who we are. We know that we can help those borrowers that are, turning their life around and looking to get into that new home or looking to do a refi after maybe they had a life event last year. And we want to be there to help.
Yeah. So do you think that now is it sub 640 or is it sub 620 now? Because I always went with sub 620, but recently I'm hearing sub 640. Which one is it, Kevin?
Well, a lot of people have increased their scores up to 640. When we first came out with this campaign, it was 640, and then we said 620. But right now, it seems like a lot of people are starting to come back down to 620. So I would say sub 620 is the space.
Just an FYI, by the way, in 2012, when I joined Carrington, their credit score was 640. And I used to beg the powers that be to please, please, please drop the score to 580. It'll be amazing. So
Well,
I want to say I have a part of this. You know what I'm saying?
oh, you do. It was funny. We're moving our office, and I was cleaning my desk the other day, and I stumbled across the deck that we used, and you were in that meeting when we dropped our score to 550, and we thought
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. We were all locked up in that room, and they wouldn't let us leave.
That's right. That's right. They wanted us to understand who we were. And then the next day, Brian and Steve, I forget those two guys that have their own podcast or their video series.
Yeah.
Made us as Evil Knievel jumping over flaming cars, and then we crashed.
And if you remember in the video, they had us slapping Wells Fargo. Because Wells Fargo just dropped their score to 600, but we came out and did 550.
Right. Absolutely.
So sub 640, back to the topic here. Sub 640, I mean, what do you guys feel? Why do you feel so comfortable with this credit score when no one else is really that comfortable?
These underwriters really, they've been through a lot of training. Even the account executives, if you noticed, just to offer it, every account executive has to go through a manual underwriting course, and on their signature they have manually certified. We want them to understand there is a big difference between a 550 going up and a 550 going down. And the underwriting team has done a great job. They understand, they make sound decisions that are based upon the whole profile and more than just a credit score. When you and I started this business, we didn't look at a credit score. We went around circling trade lines. This is a good trade line. This is a good trade line. So if I could still do this today, why should that number matter, right? So if I could still circle and see why they're a good borrower, and I would lend them my money, why should I have to be, confined to say, oh, that guy doesn't deserve a loan because he has a 589.
Right.
And our servicing knows how to deal with these borrowers. They know how to communicate with them to make sure they understand what, when they make their payment and all that good stuff. And not the last thing I'll add is you don't have to look any further than a neighborhood watch score. It's better than most people that their minimum score is 640. So we know what we're doing and we're doing the right thing.
Do you think that the servicing department has a lot to do with your success as a company overall then? I mean, obviously you guys are not, you just said your neighborhood watch score is good, that kind of stuff. So everything must be doing well, right?
100%. We work hand in hand. So you get good data from them, performance data, and you could adjust things if you need to. So it's a really great partnership that we have with them.
So also in the last 90 to 120 days, I mean, I know as a leader, it's got to be challenging for you to lead your team through these days. I mean, for people who don't know you, you're a very high energy, high touch, wearing a captain's outfit uniform, walking into the office kind of guy.
That's right. Only you know about that captain's outfit. That's right.
So, I mean, how does a guy like you all of a sudden walk into an office that's either empty or you got to social distance and not have as many people? I mean, how do you lead in these kind of times?
It's really a challenge. I'll be honest with you. I have now become the king of go-to video meetings. I still like to look people in the eye. I like to see, the reaction in their face. To me, that's the whole part of communicating, right? Is body language, to see when I'm saying certain words, what's the reaction in their face. So I'm big I try to touch base with at least once a week, a different team so I can look them in the eye. I like to, be in the trenches with my team. So I think that's been the biggest challenge for me is doing that video thing and looking them in the eye. And, but I think it's working. I think we're still getting people motivated and excited to come to work.
Do you look at any reports or metrics, or are you more of a kind of a gut kind of guy?
Yeah, it's both. I always trust my gut. That's one thing about me. Everyone knows I trust my gut on everything. If my gut tells me something, I'm following it. It hasn't steered me wrong in 48 years.
Oh, and 48 again, man. That was a good year.
Yeah, right. So it hasn't steered me wrong yet. And but no, reports, one thing I've learned from my new leader is he's a numbers guy. When they brought Greg over to the company, Greg Austin, it was different because you had this leader that was so led with his gut and his feelings, and here's a guy that could show you the analytics and show you the numbers and show you why it made sense. So I've learned a lot from that guy, and today I become a report guy and a numbers guy, and I understand more on forecasting and reporting than I did 2 years ago. So I think I kind of blended the two of those together. My gut.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing, Kev, I mean, from what you're telling me and from what I know, is that you can lead with your gut, but you can verify with those reports.
Absolutely. You know, I know, listen, I'm looking out my window right now and the sky's blue, and it's on the East Coast. We don't get too many 70-degree days. You know, it's been a while. We've been, basically in hibernation.
Yeah.
And, I'm a little nervous. I know there's going to be some guys out there when I call them, I'll hear birds tweeting and people yelling in the back and out of the water. The numbers help me verify the activity, right? Because activity is success. So I need to make sure I'm still seeing that activity.
And just for the record, I mean, I'm going to guess that you go by units, not by volume.
Yeah, units is, because of being so many different regions and depending on where they're located, I look at units first.
Yeah. And I mean, you're literally now king of Carrington, right? I mean, you're basically, if I want something from Carrington, I just call you, right?
I would consider myself maybe the crown prince, and Greg is the king. He's a great partner to have. But anything I need, I go to Greg, and I get that done.
That's so cool, man. I mean, listen, I mean, I wish you success with Carrington. I know you've done great. You deserve everything you've gotten there. You hung in there. Listen, I mean, there are tough times in our industry, right? And even you've survived in the same company for 7 years. I hate to tell you how many companies I've been at in 7 years. It's almost embarrassing telling you, right? But I was talking to you one day, and we were talking on this topic. I wish I had called you before I switched company to company, because you seem to always be able to weather the storm. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you weather the storm when you know something's not right and your gut is telling you, Kevin, got to find something different?
Well, I started first thing. I'm always honest with myself. I don't, I'm honest with anyone that comes in contact with me. And, when I fail at something, I say I fail. And I just, it fuels me to be better. So a lot of times you could find something wrong with your company and say it's this, it's that. But I find it as a challenge. I take it as, how do I get past this? How do I make this better? How do I, get this behind me and, continue on? And it's not easy all the time. It is easier some days to put your hand on your head and say, geez, man, this is just getting too tough. Maybe it'd be easier somewhere else. But that's not who I am. I just say, what can I do? What can I own in this? And what can I change? And what can I do to make my situation better? And having a group of people that trust in you, you want to keep them anchored down where they are as long as you can. And do anything you can to make it better for them. Even when it's not better for you, that's a challenge as a leader. Sometimes you got to take a lump to make it better for everyone around you. And you might not feel the pleasure of what you just changed for a month down the road. But it's,
awesome.
Thick skin.
Awesome. I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. It's a good thing for me to remember moving forward. So how anxious are you with this? Like, obviously, look, the coronavirus and we got to talk about it, right? Because you do at least 12 to 15 conferences a year. I probably do between 6 to 8 conferences, a year. How anxious are you, like, going forward that when you're forced to travel?
I got to say, one great thing is, from the top of the house here at Carrington, they've been, they put a lot of thought into it, and they've been very fair and just, it's been family and health first. We're in no rush, I'll be honest with you, I was in more of a rush than, corporate was at bringing people back in. They said, look, let's do this slow. Let's do it right. Let's make sure everyone's healthy. That's first and foremost. So they really put people first. And I don't think we'll go to any show because we always talk about that. Let's talk about, are you comfortable doing that first? So is it worth it? Let's think about it. Is there going to be a big attendance at a lot of these shows when we go there? When we go back, is it worth it? Or is it better off just saying, hey, listen, 2020, I can't wait to see you in 2021, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone that I've talked to, I mean, Housing Wire, Next Mortgage Events, NAMBA, I mean, everyone is saying, look, even when the conferences actually go back being, physical conferences, they know that it's going to be a slow build again. You know what I mean? A lot of people like myself are going to sit on the sidelines and just watch other people go first. I don't know about you, but I would not feel comfortable putting myself in a room of 300 people right today.
I agree. I mean, I have a hard enough time just remembering not to shake people's hand. My natural reaction is when I meet someone came in my office the other day, and I reached out and grabbed and shook his hand. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I saw one of my old loan officers just recently in the office, and instantly my hand went out, just shook his hand. I'm like, oh my God, I just shook the guy's hand. I mean, I was like looking for some hand sanitizer, like I was having one of those meltdown moments. But this thing has changed us, right? I mean, I don't think, at least for a while, we're going to be the same, right? I mean, at least I won't. I don't know about you.
I agree. It's every day I carry paper towel in the front seat of my car. So when I get out to open the door, I grab a piece to open the door handle, and then I grab a piece to open the other door handle. I have a 4-year-old at home.
Mm-hmm.
Not that, I'm not afraid of it. I'm more afraid of bringing it home to my 4-year-old.
Yep.
So that's been the scariest part for me.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he traveled from Atlanta to Orlando, and on the way back, he said, they said that they were going to keep the middle seats empty, but 75% full airplane and middle seats were taken up, and because I felt fearful. You know what I mean?
I can only imagine. Yeah, that's going to be probably the biggest challenge, and I don't think I will do it until there's a vaccine or something. I don't know if I'd be.
You could always drive to Anaheim. It just takes 5 days.
Yeah, I'll leave now. I'll be there Friday. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. Yeah, but I mean that would be the one thing. That's the one thing I miss the most. I'll be honest. I miss seeing. I would spend more time walking around the office, just getting to see people that I don't get to see that often, and having a conversation to get them to know me. I think that is worth its weight in gold, is looking someone in the eye and having a conversation with them. And that's probably one thing I miss the most, is missing talking to our, chief credit officer, our underwriting manager out there, our, salespeople out there. Looking at them it's nice to see you in the camera. Like I'm looking at you right now with your pancake shirt on, and but it's not the same as if we were face to face, talking.
Yeah. Look, if we were face to face, I'd have a nicer clothes on. Okay,
that's right.
I've had to literally move my podcast studio into the home, right? And so during this recording, I want you to know what happened. My dog, who has a gazillion cushions in the house, right? Seriously, this dog is like ruined. Like if I had this many beds, I don't know, but he's got one bed in my home office here, and he barged through the door. He hits the door really hard with his head, bangs it open, and he walked in and popped himself down for his mid-afternoon nap. I got Kevin Delory on my podcast, dude. What are you doing here?
He wanted to meet me. That's a great person.
He's falling asleep. He's rolling on his back right now. I don't think he cares about who I'm talking to. So, Kevin, look, we are coming up on that time where I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy moving into a brand new luxurious office, right?
Yeah, sure. It's better than the burger barn we were in when I first got here. So yes.
So you're moving on up like the Jeffersons, right? So
that's right.
You got the corner office now. Do you get a corner office?
Matter of fact, I do have a corner office, but I gave up the corner office because I didn't like being in the corner tucked away.
What do you mean?
I like to be in the mix. I took the one right smack dab in the center so I could see everything.
So you gave up the corner office to who?
Kenny will be getting the corner office. He's moving on up himself.
Is he your top producer guy or whatever?
Kenny is the regional sales manager for the top producing region.
Wow. And who is your top producing region? I want to know.
It's right here in this office. It's Rhode Island inside. The smallest state is the top producing office.
You're telling me Rhode Island is the top region for you?
Yes. Yep.
How's that? Is there enough people in Rhode Island to do this?
No, they're the east. No, probably not. I get jokes about Rhode Island all day. I love it. The eastern inside.
I'm just asking. I don't know, man. I mean, all I remember is I was going through Rhode Island. 1 minute I was in, 1 minute I was in Connecticut again.
Yeah, pretty much. I get it from Frank Ferrazzi every day. He says, "What's the population of Rhode Island again?" Oh, that's less people than in Orange County, and I get it all day. And all.
What is the population?
I think it's about 2 million. I don't think it's
See,
that.
the fact that you even know that's what I was testing. I would know the population of Virginia. Had the pandemic not started, I would never know the population.
That number's probably not right, Fob, but no one's gonna fact check this about Rhode Island. No one even knows what Rhode Island is. They think it's part of New York and it's Long Island.
Telling you, I'm going to get a text when I release this podcast. Someone's going to tell me the population of Rhode Island now. That's what's going to happen. That's always what happens, man. Someone always fact checks the podcast. I don't know who those guys are, but God bless them. I mean, they're fact checking us all the time. They're saying, hey, by the way, Rhode Island is actually 2.7 million.
Yeah, that's right. They'll probably be right.
There's 700,000 people around all those curvy beaches.
That's right.
So, Kevin, look, we're called Laugh, Lend, and Eat, right? That's our podcast name. So the reason I put eat in there because I love food, right? You know that.
Absolutely.
What I got to know is, as much as you travel, is there some kind of comfort food that you're craving when you get back to Rhode Island? I mean, I know it's not salmon. I know that, man.
You know that story. Never feed me salmon. Never feed anyone you don't know salmon.
Why is that, by the way? Why would you feed somebody salmon?
Because unless you don't like them, feed them salmon. It's just salmon's just a unique taste, and if you don't know someone well enough, you should offer them pasta, chicken, or steak. That's a go-to.
But so salmon is that bad to you?
I've only had it once, and I didn't like it. So I've actually had it twice. One time I tasted it and didn't like it, and the second time I put scalloped potatoes on top of it and ate it to mask the flavor because I wanted to be a good guest. Yes.
So we know salmon is not your comfort food.
That's right.
So when you get back to Rhode Island and Warwick and Mrs. Delory is with you, what is that one go-to food that you got to have, man?
I got to have Italian. Nothing better than a good like chicken parm or gnocchis. Actually, the one go-to is the ravioli with the egg yolk inside. So when you break into the ravioli, the egg yolk comes out. And it's at a little place not too far from my house that is homemade, absolutely amazing. It's my go-to.
So you know what I've learned to make during this pandemic? It's weird you say that. Baked ziti.
Nice. Are you making the pasta yourself or are you buying the pasta?
Well, I mean, I'm not that Italian. Yeah, I gotta buy the pasta. Come on. I'm making the sauce myself. I'm not buying like pre-made sauce. I'm doing the sauce myself, right? So I think that's pretty good.
Absolutely. That's a start. Good.
I wouldn't know how to make, I mean, do you guys make your own pasta?
I would say yes. See, it's not a podcast, but that's not the truth. Absolutely not. No.
and I know this much is you don't even call it sauce or what you call it gravy, right?
Well, gravy
on top of the pasta, right?
That's right.
And you always have it separated in different bowls. You don't never pre-mix anything for somebody.
No.
See, if I ever go out to dinner, if you ever come to my house for dinner, I'm gonna make you Italian. I know exactly how I'm gonna serve you, but I'm gonna put salmon somewhere in the pasta so you don't see it.
No, nothing fish. We're just gonna skip that.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, my brother. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Kev. I really, really appreciate your time. I know we're getting to the end of the month, and you took the time out to come out and talk to me, and I appreciate it, brother. Best of luck out there. Stay safe, okay?
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care now.
Well, there it is. Episode 10 is in the books, and what a wonderful episode that was. Thank you so much to Kevin Delory for sharing the fact that he does not like salmon or any kind of fish. So do not serve that man if you see him in a restaurant. Thank you to One Good One and to First Option Mortgage, and to you guys for your continued support of listening to this podcast, whether it's on Apple Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Talk to you all soon.